All right, in 3, 2, 1.
Run! Go! This is the podcast!
Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a podcast?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and
Podcast.
and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Get to the Podcast. That's Get to the Podcast with the number 2. I'm Tiago D'Souza.
I'm Nick Gambino.
And I'm Neil Carson.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. No, are we there already?
Ding, ding.
Dun, 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 dun.
No,
We're like all in different parts of the
I don't
song.
know.
What the hell?
No, but what about like I like songs like Phil Collins' "One More Night." Give
One
me just
more
one
night.
more night. Give me just one more night.
All right, well,
Wow.
I don't think anybody
And
knows.
thanks for coming to the podcast.
Yeah,
See you guys
I know,
later.
right?
That's it.
Little Love Deli.
We're now a doo-wop group.
There you go.
Doo-wop.
All right, so today we're talking about some love films.
Love.
What do you
Well,
guys think?
Well,
I mean,
that's up for
yeah,
interpretation. That,
yeah.
You gotta be a
I
little more
don't know if
specific.
people call them love
Other than-
films. I mean, like romantic
Romantic
comedies or
I hate that.
romantic
Not ones you'd
films.
find on Pornhub. You know,
Yeah, we're not-
talking about ones you'd find on like maybe
like-
Lifetime or Hallmark Channel.
So we just found out that Nick knows what Pornhub is.
I'm a
And we just
32-year-old
found-
man.
Wait,
I mean, everybody knows what
Let me
Pornhub
correct
is.
this because we now just found out that Tiago knows what Pornhub is.
What is this thing you guys are talking about?
Yeah,
I have no idea.
You're innocent.
All right. So we're talking about romantic films today. And top? Are we doing
No,
top?
I think we're gonna do. We're not gonna do a top list. What we're gonna do is just basically, Valentine's Day is upon us or is here. Really, it's tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
And we're going to be doing kind of like looking into what makes a great romantic comedy. Because if you look back, mainly over the last 30 years, romantic comedies, there's some real shit out there. Like there are ones that are just pumped out and are formulaic. There's nothing original about them, and they just feel. I don't know. They're forgettable.
Yeah, they're
But
like-
then
Yeah.
you have these
Like
gems,
these cardboard cutouts. Yeah.
yeah, then you have these gems, like ones that are Oscar worthy that are released, and those are the movies we want to get into. Like, what is the difference? Like, what makes these pop, whereas the other ones are just like, oh, I never want to watch again, or I can't even finish this movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have you have romantic comedies, but you also have films that are not comedies at all that can be
Romance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like not like a drama, but like you have like fantasy films that have like these whole romantic arcs
Yeah.
that are like very impactful on the
True, even
audience.
Lord of the Rings has that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's fine. I mean, romance has always been like one of those things. Oh, we got to make sure we have romance. We have to make sure we have drama. We have to make sure we have action. That's like
Yeah, it's like a staple.
An
Like
ingredient.
throw in a little bit of romance.
sprinkle a little bit. So you need to
of
have
this, a little
the
bit of
man
that.
and
Yeah.
the woman, the love interest. Like, who's the love interest in this film? Like,
Right.
so that is a thing. But I think in terms of romantic
You have to
comedies,
have two little loved ones. Let's be up to date on that.
I'm sorry. What did you just say?
Two loved ones.
Who let you out of your box?
Well, you're saying love man and a woman, but now it's different.
Oh, I
just
get what you're
want to,
saying.
get
Yeah,
you up to
sure,
society
okay.
standards.
Why you gotta make me like homophobic? I'm just saying.
I didn't even say
Jesus,
that.
Nick.
I didn't even say that.
Wow,
God.
you're gonna kick me while I'm down. Why don't you, fucker?
I didn't even say that.
No, I'm just saying. Okay,
I know. It's just normal. It's just
Wake up
it's
to the
just-
times, man.
okay. I'm not sure that I have anything on my list here that looks like
Brokeback Mountain.
Oh yeah, okay, that is a good one.
That is a very good one.
It's not a romantic
I
comedy.
actually need to see that movie because I'm a
it's
big
not a
fan of
romantic
the
comedy, but it's
director
a-
Ang Lee.
it's a
yeah,
romance
and
film.
I love Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And
Yeah, well, this is the sequel, Brokeback Mountain.
What?
But no, Brokeback Mountain's
Fat
actually
is,
Chow Yun Fat
and
yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
You find out where he got his name from.
What the? Oh,
You got it. You got it.
Oh my god.
Let's move forward.
All right, moving on. But Brokeback Mountain is a good. That's a good movie. That
a
actually
really
is,
good
is
movie,
really
yeah,
solid.
it is.
And it was thought it was going to win the Best Picture that year, and Crash came in and kind of stole the spotlight.
Yeah,
and
Crash was a good
somehow wasn't even nominated.
Crash was a weird romantic comedy.
It wasn't a romantic comedy.
It was, yeah.
That was what you call black romantic comedy.
Yeah.
It was
Right.
like no romantic comedy, no comedy at all.
But
either.
There was
let's
no comedy.
okay,
Yeah.
but
There was
let's
no
look
comedy.
at okay. I want to talk about one movie specifically from the 80s. I mean, we could obviously there's the romantic films.
you
have
wanna
been
start in
around
the
for a long
80s?
time. I mean, you want to go earlier?
Yeah, I mean, I would say.
I don't think we should just go
like
by
a classic
just
movie.
talk films.
Maybe not a rom-com,
You're
but
not gonna
Breakfast
say-
at Tiffany's.
Why are we
is
so
what I'll
focused
say.
on comedy?
Which
There's
has
a lot
some
of comedy
humor,
coming out.
even though it's kind of like racist humor. I mean, those scenes are
I know,
supposed
with
to be
Mickey-
funny,
Mickey
but
Rooney.
Mickey Rooney.
Oh my
Why are you
God.
guys saying
I must protest.
rom-coms a lot?
Well, because
Well-
that's kind of what we're talking about. I mean, there's not really a genre
You
of
could say, like,
romantic,
romantic
films.
film.
If you look at
Yeah.
genres, romantic comedy is a genre. There is no romantic.
It's like
Film.
drama,
Yeah.
like kind of like covers romantic.
Exactly.
films.
We're trying not to talk about every film that ever existed with romance in it. We're trying to go,
Yeah.
okay, let's talk about rom-coms because or chick flicks as people
Well, that totally
call them.
changed what
Yeah,
I prepared for.
we could
because
say-
we said romance. Like I'm thinking like
We never said that. I always
Oh.
said romantic comedy.
I did not hear you at all. Maybe
It's
I
literally the name of
maybe-
the fucking episode is what makes a great
it's not-
romantic comedy.
I titled the episode. Oh, actually, it is.
You oh really?
Man, I'm off. Shit.
Sure are.
Well, I
Anywho.
mean, I don't know.
Alright.
To me, like I feel like there is humor in that
Breakfast
film.
at
And
Tiffany's.
you know,
Breakfast
it
at Tiffany's is definitely.
Yeah, it does have like
Yeah.
serious moments, but yeah.
Okay,
I don't know.
fine.
I feel like that would fall into the category.
feel like
And that's like a that's like a classic. I mean, I felt like a lot of films base their base like the model
Yeah.
of their film on that particular film.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, we could look at that. We could look at Meet Me in St. Louis. I mean, there are a lot of romantic.
Oh, The Apartment too.
The Apartment.
Did
Which
you
we
see
talked-
that?
Yeah,
no, I
that's
still
a
haven't
good
seen it, but we talked about
dude,
that.
So good. So
Yeah.
good.
So we could okay. You want to just start talking about what makes these movies great?
Yeah. Let's do it.
I was prepared for like the 80s onwards for some reason. Like that in my mind was when it kind of.
Well, man, you have like
became-
Gone
with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay,
we
let's-
don't have to
let's
talk
just start
about
with
those
the
movies.
80s.
I'm just saying, like, what, like romance on film.
Let's
going
just start with the
forward.
80s.
You know.
Princess Bride.
That is
Yeah.
a romance.
That
Okay.
is a romantic comedy.
Romantic comedy. It's like a
Like,
fantasy
It's a
film.
it's a
It is,
it's a
I mean-
comedy.
It got.
with
Are you
romance
kidding?
in it.
It's got everything. Sword fighting,
Yeah,
revenge,
see?
true love. Okay.
To blame.
To blame. Which which we all know means to bluff. So he's probably playing cards and he cheated. Liar, liar. Shut up, you witch. I'm not a witch. I'm your wife, and I'm not even sure I want to be that anymore. You never had it so good.
Brought to you by
I mean-
Nick Gambino.
Boom.
Boom.
But like like even that film, it has like all these like you have Miracle Max and you have
Yeah.
Wesley and Buttercup and
Yeah.
you have the king who's like trying to this kind of like this interesting dynamic because a lot of some romantic films you only have like the male and female or the two characters and then the whole film it's kind of like these roller coaster of their lives but you don't really have like a third antagonist that's like trying to break it up or
Right.
throw in that like curveball or whatever but then you have that in Princess Bride. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like a serious threat, really, but it's
Prince
there.
Humperdinck.
Yeah, Prince Humperdinck.
Yeah. I mean, it's a serious threat.
I mean, it is. A little
They
bit.
just torture the fucking guy.
As a
and they
kid,
kill
like
him.
you take it very seriously,
Yeah.
but as an adult, yeah.
Okay, but
Maybe
okay,
not so
all
much.
right. So Rob Reiner directed Princess Bride, right?
Yeah.
And he
Also did.
yes, one I think possibly the greatest romantic comedy of all time, but at least up there when Harry Met Sally.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, I love this movie, and I think that should be the movie. I think that's the movie that should be studied in terms of how do you make a romantic comedy properly.
Yeah.
So what are the elements of it that make it work? I'll tell you one thing about it, and this is some people might be like, "Oh, that doesn't matter." I think it does. That movie's rated R, okay? And if you look at some of the best romantic comedies of all time, they're all rated R. It doesn't mean you think of them as gratuitous because it's not about that. It's about not being basically boxed into this like Hallmark Channel.
Yeah, and it's not
weird-
rated R for gratuity. It's rated
not.
R for language, really.
Yes, language, and so
yeah.
they can do something if they want because you're talking about romance and love, and that has some rated
I
R
don't think-
elements to it. Pretty Woman, rated R.
Yeah.
Jerry
I don't
Maguire,
think-
rated R.
I-
Sleeping with Other people, rated R.
I trust that, but I don't
Love
think
Actually,
rating
rated
has
R.
to do.
I think
anything
it.
with
No. The point is not that they're going for that rated R, but they're not creatively limiting themselves because
Yeah.
they're trying to go for PG-13. Let's look at PG-13 movies. Valentine's Day. There's some movies that they don't really stretch and spread their wings, and you could feel the sort of boxed-in mentality.
Yeah, but you have
creatively.
you have The Breakup, you have Sweet Home Alabama.
Totally. I'm not saying it's what kills a movie. I'm just saying the best ones because even those two you just mentioned, while they're great, they're not as good as When Harry Met Sally.
have,
they're not as good as
Say
Jerry
Anything.
Maguire. Isn't that rated R?
like a
No,
good
that's
old
PG-13.
Okay, that's
it's
PG-13.
Like a good old classic one
Again.
was which was PG was Moonstruck.
Oh my God! First off, I think that's rated R. Take a look at it.
No, it's not.
I love.
It's PG.
Is it? Moonstruck is
Moonstruck.
up there with When Harry Met Sally for me. So that is a good
so,
point.
yeah.
All I'm saying is I think some of the more classic ones, most of them are rated R. And let me just name them real quick. You have When Harry Met Sally. You have Pretty Woman.
Princess Bride,
You know.
rated R.
Okay. Those are her US's. Then you have Jerry Maguire, rated R. You have Love Actually, rated R. You know, like these movies, I think those
Moonstruck
four alone,
is actually PG.
I just said
Yeah,
that.
they
Yeah,
even said it's PG, yeah.
Oh, I think
Yeah.
it's PG-13. Yeah.
no.
I do love that movie. And like I said, I'm not saying that that's the fact that it has to be there in order for it to be a great movie. I'm just saying it's interesting that four that easily take up the top 5 spots in my opinion.
It is true because there's something to that rated
I think
R
with the
element
ratings,
because,
you can add more to the film. I agree in that.
So I'm saying, like, they made a
yeah.
film first, ratings came second. They weren't worried about.
They weren't
Oh no,
wor-
we got to scale this
correct,
back
yeah.
for the kids.
Well, I think
Who
the
wants to watch
rating,
romantic comedy for kids?
There's a point in, I mean, there's a thing in cinema where like you some films feel like almost like a fairy tale, like this isn't real life.
Yes.
Like you could watch a romantic comedy. It takes place in New York City with like a guy working it here and she's working there and you know the friends working there and all they go to this bar and that place and all these things and
No,
it's like and
that's
it's
not
still
true.
it's still with the dialogue and everything like it still
Feels
doesn't
fake.
feel real. It
Yes.
feels like
Yeah.
two cardboard cutouts saying these things that a real person wouldn't say in real life.
Right.
And then you can watch a film that's rated R where they're not necessarily using profanity, but sometimes, you know, but talking about concepts that might be more adult, and their dialogue the dialogue itself like feels real. Like
Right.
this would be a conversation that most people would have in this setting, you know, like
Yeah.
like talking to that person or
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
And I think that rated R element kind of brings that, allows the writers to kind of put in some concepts that you wouldn't be able to get away with a PG or PG-13
Right,
film.
and I think it starts with the script. You look at the script, and you're like, do we want to alter this to
Yeah.
make it PG?
And a lot of it's really the actors too. The actors
Yeah.
kind of bring. It's not just the fact that it's rated R, but it's also the actors' performance.
Yeah.
It's,
Oh,
it's,
absolutely.
It's the when it comes to love stories, romantic comedies, and I think to me actually to a lot of films is the connectivity between an act. Did you just fucking like sneeze and spit out?
And I glared at him. No, he just sneezed.
I just sneezed.
It's just the connectivity. Anyway, it's the connectivity that you see between those two people. What is going on? What is this infected podcast happening?
Just like flew back at me. I felt it in my throat.
Oh my gosh! So it's the connectivity between the two actors.
Yeah.
That chemistry that works
Definitely.
together. Because if
Chemistry
that
is a big part of it.
because when it comes to love story, it's like a fucking formula. It's a battle between finding that right moment, when taking that awkward feeling to that point of, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
they actually love each other. There's
Yeah.
a feeling that
It is absolutely chemistry. I
Yeah.
think is a big part of it. That's why I'm saying like the rated R thing is not the only part of it at all, and I don't even think that's what makes the film. But I think that creative box is kind of like extended or whatever when you're not worried about the rating. But yes, chemistry absolutely has a big part of it. When Harry Met Sally, amazing chemistry, those
Yeah.
two. And what I love about that movie is it's about their friendship.
Yeah. For people
They-
that haven't seen it, it's Billy Crystal and
Meg Ryan.
Meg Ryan.
Yeah.
Yes, people are always like, "Oh, Sleepless in Seattle." I'm like, I like Sleepless in Seattle. I really do.
You got mail.
You Got Mail. Great movie. Like I do enjoy
the
those
trilogy.
films.
both PG.
Yeah, which by the way, Nora Ephron also wrote When Harry Met Sally and also wrote and directed those movies. So
Oh, wow.
she's connected to those.
Yeah.
But When Harry Met Sally completely trumps those films. When Harry Met Sally is like the ultimate.
Yeah.
The ultimate romantic comedy because it's about their friendship. They actually don't even strike up any romantic whatever until like basically the end of the movie.
Yeah.
It's about these two people who start off hating each other, right? And they barely know each other, and then they keep running into each other over the years until they're both at a point in their life where they're kind of at this crossroads and they're kind of beaten up by life and being an adult and
Well, it's like
bad
the opposite of
relationships.
most romantic
Yes.
comedies, I think. I mean, not the opposite, but a lot of them have taken that idea. But it's
Yeah.
like two people. Like the movie doesn't throw you in a situation where you're like, oh, obviously these two people are going to end up at the end of the film
Right.
together. Like, I mean, you watch this film and these people
Yeah.
dislike each other, and you know they just happen to like know this, have the same friends that are the husband and wife or whatever. Like
Bruno
he's friends
Kirby,
with the husband, and
You felt
he's
like
friends
you
Well,
were-
no, they're not married. They get
Yeah.
married later. They're actually their individual friends, and they
Okay.
connect up through Harry and
You
Sally.
literally felt like you
Yeah.
were their friend watching them like finally
Yeah.
find out that they like each other.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and it builds up through a friendship. And it's sort of like it's a better message even regarding relationship. It's like you can end up loving your best friend. You know what I mean? You can build that through a friendship and have an organic romance bloom. But what the greatest part of that film are the elements and the conversations they have. Just watching them play off each other. Yeah. And his wit and his charm and her sort of like silly, kind of funny, back and forth with him. I love those scenes. Like when they're walking through Central Park in the fall with the changing leaves and they're just talking. And when he asks her out finally, and it's like that whole chicken pepper kash. What is it? Please to partake in my pepper kash. Do you remember that? And he's like, repeat that after me. Please, would you partake in my pepper.
No.
I just love the scene. It's just like all these little elements, or even when she fakes the orgasm, I'll have what she's having scene. There's just a lot of great scenes in that, and it has to absolutely do with the chemistry between the two.
It was like Billy Crystal. That was kind of like he was on fire, like at that time period.
He was dropping
these amazing films at the time.
I wanted to jump 30 years in the future real quick, with a movie that came out in the last couple of years, which I feel like is the modern When Harry Met Sally, and I feel like it did what that movie did, but it kind of modernized it, which was Sleeping with Other People. Yeah, with Jason Sudeikis and Alison Brie.
Yeah,
that movie is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a really
again really another rated R movie. It is rated R,
and they definitely take the rated R a little bit, definitely further than
it's raunchier in terms of mainly
the dialogue is raunchier.
Yeah, there's some nudity in it, but I like this movie is about these two people who agree. They had these romantic inklings in the beginning, and they, I guess, lost their virginity to each other. And then, like 10 years later, they meet back up. Yeah, and they decide to just be friends. And it's the chemistry between these two, and also just it was on. You could tell it was from the screenplay. Like whatever was written down was just very witty. It was a well written film, and their chemistry and the way they interact is like you're like I'm fucking rooting for these kids.
Yeah, and it's interesting that both characters have like an interesting, like their characters are interesting. Like Jason Sudeikis is kind of like layered. This, he like can't commit, so he just constantly is having these one night stands. Yeah. And then Alison Brie's character is like fixated on this guy that she knew in college.
Yeah, she's obsessed with him like to an unhealthy degree.
Yeah, she's just like getting insanely married. Obsessed with this person, but he's also like taking advantage of her, and he's like he's played like married to this like pregnant. His like wife's pregnant or his like fiance's pregnant, and it's this horrible situation.
He's a piece of shit.
But you could see she's like, she's like.
He's a gynecologist too. I think we should point that out.
Yeah,
we should point.
But it's like I don't know, man. It's like there's like a mental like. Like she's sick, like mentally, when it comes to this guy. And Jason Sudeikis is, he has his own issues, but they're not like, they don't like. I feel like towards the end of the film, you kind of start to see more of him kind of breaking out.
Absolutely. Him. I mean, when he loses it on the guy in the restaurant, like. But what I like is that they both basically found each other, a friendship with each other that was very much needed at that point. Again, like when Harry Met Sally. Those guys became friends in that movie when they both were really in need of somebody. Yeah. And they almost needed a friend of the opposite sex. Yeah. They like in When Harry Met Sally, she didn't just, she had her best friend, which was played by Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia. Yeah. And that was great, but she kind of needed a man of the opposite sex that wasn't a romantic thing. She needed a friend like that, and he represented that. And Sleeping with Other People is very similar. She needed a friend who was a male that wasn't intertwined with this kind of crazy shit that was going on inside of her. And same with him. He was kind of almost disrespecting women. Like there's a scene in the beginning where he bangs that girl he's with, like sister or whatever, and she pushes him in front of a car. So like he's not in a good place either.
But he also like explains why he does the things he does.
He's very open about it.
Yeah, he's like, look, I want it out, so I knew that if I did this, it'll create that effect or that result.
It's better
to
say I fucked your sister than
situation.
Tell me I don't like you. He's like, I'd rather say I fucked your sister than I don't like you.
Yeah. It's anyway, it's a really, really good movie. That's also a very good.
Yeah, that movie is
well done.
It was well received at Sundance. I think it was a Sundance film.
Yeah.
That was a really solid one.
Yeah.
You know who I think had great chemistry as a love couple was Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler.
And The Wedding?
Oh, Wedding Singer and 50 First Dates.
50 First Dates.
Oh, yeah.
I literally thought you were going to say Drew Barrymore and Tom Skerritt in Poison Ivy.
Why would you say that?
That's what you were going to say.
Why?
Because it would have been funny.
Oh, okay.
It was a missed
opportunity.
Just for a
joke. A missed opportunity for a joke, yeah. No, I think they
had... That scene in the rain?
He's
up
going
against
into
the car.
He's going into his joke. Look.
Wait, Poison Ivy?
Poison Ivy. You ever
Yeah.
seen Poison Ivy?
Why
He's
would I-
like,
why would I say
since
that?
I
he's
don't
like,
know.
he's like 40
And
years
Nick's
or
fine.
senior.
You're into Poison Ivy. I don't know.
What-
All right, let's do
You
Wedding
could have
Singer.
said Alicia Silverstone, and then all of us thought you were going to say Clueless, but you really were going to say The Crush.
The Crush.
Really? Oh, I just thought you were going to say.
It's a romantic
How
movie
about
if you're
Hideaway?
obsessed.
You ever
if
seen
you're-
Hideaway? Where she's basically hooking up with the Antichrist. Jeff Goldblum's in it.
Where are you?
With Alicia Silverstone?
Yeah,
What the
it's
hell
good, man.
is
Jeff
wrong
Goldblum's
with
in
you
it.
guys
I told you about
today?
this movie.
I need to see
He
it.
comes
What
back.
is this disease that you guys
Anyways.
have?
All
That's
right,
just
Let's talk about the Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler.
They had great
Great.
chemistry, yeah, in Wedding Singer, and then also 50 First
50
Dates.
First Dates, which was
Yeah.
great. Which is she loses her memory like every day. She goes back to a certain
She
time.
kind of resets,
Yeah,
and it was just
doesn't
great.
remember anything from the day before.
I thought that was a very unique love story that just was done very well.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I really, really loved it. And I still remember the ending. If I spoil it for people, I'm sorry. But, he's recording everything in VHS. Oh my gosh, that was so funny. On a boat.
Yep.
And then they have a family together. And he goes
Just a
through
reminder
this,
every day.
Yeah, he goes through this
of
routine.
who he is.
Every
she
day.
wakes up and it says there's a tape there. It says "Play Me," and then she puts
Yeah.
the tape in, and it basically gives her a rundown of like where she is,
Where she is
currently
the
at
day
time.
before-
He
Yeah,
has
and
kids and they're a
it's-
family. It's crazy.
It's so, that's so awesome.
yeah. I agree.
It was cool.
But Wedding Singer was also great.
Yes.
I love their chemistry, and I actually like that a little bit more than 50 First Dates. But either way, I think those two are great together. They did do another movie a few years later, Blended,
Blended,
where they
yeah.
go to Africa or whatever. Wasn't a very
I think
good
that
movie.
just this failed script, not them.
Yeah. It's like that Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan thing. Like they kept bringing them together. They were in Joe versus the Volcano,
Yeah.
Sleepless in Seattle, and You've Got Mail. So they kind of did the same thing with Adam Sandler. And some are better than others.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But Pretty Woman, 1990.
Pretty Woman.
Yeah,
Gary Marshall directed that.
yeah.
Which is funny because he's also the guy who directed, Valentine's Day, New Year's Eve, those ensemble movies later on.
Oh yeah.
He
I thought those were both of those seemed like they were takes off of
Love Actually?
Love
or-
Actually.
Well, there's a bunch
New
of
Year-
movies
New
like
Year's Eve, I
that.
think,
She's just
came
not
out
that
after.
into you. Yeah. She's just not that into you has done that. There's these different movies that have done that kind of a thing. But I guess Love Actually, I don't know if that's the
I don't
first
know.
one. Because if you
but
look
Love
at
Actually, a lot of those characters never actually end up meeting. Like
Yeah.
a bunch of them do,
Yeah.
but like they're always
honestly,
separate
I think of movies like
storylines,
Love-
and
Love-
You care about every storyline. You're
Yeah.
like really vested in like what happens to each set of
Absolutely.
characters.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels kind of does that kind of a thing, not from a romantic comedy standpoint, but like that kind of interlocking ensemble
Yeah.
stuff. But I do like, but going back to Pretty Woman, Gary Marshall, that movie is fantastic as well.
Yeah.
I mean, not only does it have a great soundtrack, but and again, you're right, it's totally chemistry because Julia Roberts and Richard Gere are great in that movie.
Yeah.
Julia Roberts is infectious. Like I watch her and I'm like, I love this woman. Like,
Yeah.
she's fantastic. I think she was only like 22 when she did that or something.
Something like that. Yeah.
It's
like,
an
there's that
interesting story too.
That's the thing.
Very
It's-
interesting
it's
story. Like I
not
feel
this-
like as a kid I didn't quite get.
She's
what
a
was
prostitute.
happening. Yeah, but
You
I mean,
took-
I'm like, you know,
you took
5
a
years
story
old, like, I
that
don't-
should never be a love story, and you made it a love story.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
should-
That is very
yeah.
true. You know this movie because the whole thing is that he goes, he gets the prostitute.
Yeah.
They do have sex that night. He pays for a prostitute.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not like this is a good thing necessarily.
Yeah.
But that it's like, oh, this is so sweet. But she's like blowing him while watching I Love Lucy in that scene. It's very funny for a romantic comedy. It's kind of a strange element, but it works. And the next morning he decides, I want you to hang out with me for a week or whatever, and I'll pay you $3,000. And she agrees to do it. The movie was originally
I don't know if
called,
that movie would like be successful today.
It
in
would
like
have
the
to be-
current mindset.
I don't
of
know that it'd be
people,
as
like-
commercially successful, but I
Yeah.
think it could be a successful movie. Again, if you do it right, that movie was done right. It's not a gimmicky sellout kind of movie, which it's not pitter patter following some sort of rote formula.
I think it would. I think it would
Um,
because it's such a. I think it would be because it's such a unique story.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it's taking something that should never work, should never happen.
You
and
can't
you
do that
made-
movie glossy.
It
You
probably
can't do
doesn't
that
happen
movie,
most
yeah.
of the
Yeah, but that movie's dark too. There's dark elements. There's gritty elements to that film. Like you can't make a shiny. Some romantic
No.
comedies these days. You watch them and they're just like, oh my god, how many filters have they put on this thing? Like it just looks
Yeah,
so
the stuff with Jason
shiny.
Alexander was kind of like, ugh.
Oh yeah, when he tries to rape her, like that's a fucking crazy movie. And then that scene where they try to get, they almost get jacked in the alley or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then his chauffeur has the gun. There's some dark elements to that movie, but the thing that works in that movie is the relationship and the chemistry between Richard Gere and Julia Roberts. Like, for instance, there's that scene at the opera, where they're watching the opera and he brings her for the first time. And he's trying to get her make her kind of classier than she is because she's like this street broad. Like, she's not particularly a class act. She's sweet and everything like that, but she doesn't know how to mingle in high society, which is not necessarily something you need to do and whatever. But for her, it kind of like opens her mind into other experiences. When he brings her to the opera and she's crying, she can't understand a word they're saying, but she can feel the emotion of it. And it's just acted very well. Yeah. That scene where he's bringing her to the opera and he's got that little case open that has, I guess, a necklace in it or whatever. Yeah. And she goes to reach for it and he snaps it shut and she starts laughing, and that infectious laugh at that moment, that's an outtake. Yeah. They left in the movie. He did that to mess with her, and she just like busts out laughing. That's why it's so natural. Yeah. Is it was an outtake, but they loved it so much they left it in the movie. Yeah. Which is great. Also, little trivia: that movie was going to be called 3000, standing for the amount of money he was paying her for the week. It was going to be called 3000, not Pretty Woman. And doesn't that make it dirtier? It's a good Pretty Woman's a good title.
It's a dirty movie.
But like if you called it 3000, could you say, "Oh, I love that romantic comedy 3000" about the $3,000 he's going to pay to bang her for a week? Like, it's kind of terrible.
This is Sparta with an extra
zero.
But
that Pretty Woman, then they after the Roy Orbison song "Pretty Woman," I think it changes it because of the title.
It's how they use the elements in that movie, because if you think about Julia Roberts' role, she wasn't a typical prostitute.
Yeah. She says she doesn't do
I don't know if it's true. I don't know. But when you think of prostitute, you don't think of such almost homey females, just really almost innocent type of girl.
It's funny because I think of prostitutes quite often. And when I think of prostitutes...
What the fuck
So
are
it's
you
interesting.
talking?
I was actually thinking about this idea.
Wait. I want him to finish his statements real quick.
I'm not paying a woman for sex, but I'll pay her to take care of me, to go on dates with me, and just to hang out. Okay, I'm married with a kid, but I'm just saying, in an alternate reality, I'm paying for
that's
a companion.
Actually a thing, I think.
I don't think I could pay for sex.
I think that's a thing.
Fuck is
that's a thing in Japan. You can actually.
Well,
pay.
I guess escort is the concept. They don't need to have sex with you.
Right, that's a thing here.
But I'm saying, on a total platonic
guys.
We should delve into the complexities.
Is it the medication or is it the disease?
Because
this is fucked up shit.
All I'm saying is I'm not going to pay. My point being is I don't think I don't.
Nick,
I know I can't pay for sex. Not even from a legality point. I can't do it. But I'm just saying, like, if I'm going to pay...
Thank you for being honest.
If we're going to have a prostitution kind of thing, I would rather be like, hey, I'll pay you to hang out with me, and we'll just go have fun, and, nothing sexual. Like, platonic. We'll just go to concerts and movies.
I don't know if I'd pay somebody to hang out with me.
You can pick up the bill. We'll go to dinner.
Okay.
I'm pro-feminism.
This podcast is totally changing right now into a counseling session. Because you're paying for friends now?
So
I need to.
So your point was that, like, she didn't seem like what you would consider to be a typical... prostitute, right? That was like the point you were making.
Back to my point outside of this
from the
great revelation.
Well, well, what was interesting is like when I watched that movie, it takes place in LA, and LA is known to have a lot of unfortunately a lot of like aspiring men and women that come to that region to come to Hollywood, looking for to become an actress, to become a writer, to become whatever, and so it kind of gets flooded with all these people that I don't know if this
what
sounds...
do they call them? Transients, almost like a...
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever been to LA, like, and you just go to
money?
You just go to a coffee shop. Well, no, I'm not saying that. I mean, but you have like a huge number of people that like the porn industry is like mainly located in Los Angeles and that area.
There's a lot of fish out of water there.
Yeah, you have like a lot of like young people from the Midwest, from the East Coast, or from all over the country that come to that area and don't quickly or don't sometimes never make it into the entertainment industry, and then they end up becoming like Julia Roberts in this film. So I don't know, for some reason, like when I saw her play that character,
it made sense.
Like later in life, like when I first watched it, I was like, this is ridiculous, this isn't real. But later in life, I'm like looking at it, I'm like, you know what, actually I feel like that would hold up.
I feel like he never asked her to take to get a pap smear or like
what the
HIV test or herpes test. I feel like
that was sure did.
He ran up the fire escape.
He spent a lot of money, he didn't spend it on tests. That's all.
Yes, I'm just saying he ran up the fire escape, but I'm like, where's the scene where he's like, I love you, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, but just before we do that,
let's just
there's a clinic down the street, let's just walk in there, do a couple tests, see what happens, and then we'll have this conversation.
So this is very... So back to my point of using
I do love the movie, though.
elements properly. And that's what I'm saying. It's... what you explained, it's not. I know this is so fun. This is not.
Why are we spending so much time on Pretty Woman?
Because it's a great movie.
It is a really good
It's a
movie.
great movie, but normally you don't think of a prostitute in that form, and what you explained, it's honestly true, and they use that as an element to have such an innocent person be brought to that situation and then being taken out of that situation. It wasn't
stereotypical, which was
it wasn't
something
stereotypical.
That was different because
I feel like
I don't think you can stereotype a prostitute. Like prostitutes
Yeah,
are people. Like they have their own stories, so their own personalities.
But what I'm saying is that back to that situation where you explained where he snapped the case with the necklace. That was so you don't usually hear. You don't think of a prostitute laughing like that.
But it was an
being
outtake,
so
so
natural.
it shouldn't have even been in the movie.
Doesn't,
in the
but it
first
was
place.
used, and that's what we saw. So in elements of what was used in the
It
film,
made her a more likable
It made
prostitute.
her incredibly likable.
Also, when she sings Prince in the bathtub.
Yeah, but because of these things, you respect her. It's kind of like watching the show Dexter. You kind of, in a way, you respect them as a killer.
Yeah,
you
but
respected
he's still a
her,
killer. Like he still
even though she
kills
was a
people and gets pleasure from
even
it.
though she was still a prostitute, the way she was presented to you, you gave into liking her.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying.
Jamie Lee Curtis played a prostitute in Trading
Yeah,
Places.
Trading Places, very true.
she showed
I
very
thought, like,
likable.
When I watched that movie, like I don't, even though what's his name, Dan
Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd's like you're
Louis.
a prostitute. Like his reaction,
You're a prostitute. I'm talking about a business proposition, Louis.
like I feel like she handled it, well. It wasn't like, it wasn't. It's not like this, I don't know how you get weird ideas.
It was
about,
a means to an end, and she explains that in the movie.
Yeah.
This is the point. Is like you could stereotype prostitutes as being disgusting, smelled like ashtrays, whatever people, but like they're all individual people, and so like these movies, I just have different takes on them. Be like, okay, can a prostitute find love and say this is the wrong lifestyle for me?
Or can a rich Caucasian in Los Angeles find love?
True. Richard Gere.
Very
Anyway, so yeah, that was Pretty Woman, but another movie.
But does this film reflect on Richard Gere? Like the beginning of that movie, he just rolls up and is like, Lamborghini or whatever, and he's picking up ladies at the
he doesn't
night.
know what he's doing. You could tell.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't do it with uncertainty. He's
feel like-
confident, but he's sort of like he's at again. This is this thing that we were talking about earlier. He was at a point in his life where he needs somebody else, and she was at a point in her life where she needs somebody else. And you could see that he's sort of like.
So this wasn't a regular thing for him.
No, you can tell he's like it's a momentary thing for me.
You saw
he's like
the movie.
I'm just gonna do this. He was just
It's
driving.
been a long time. I need to watch the movie.
He was
again.
very confident
yeah.
in his life, but when it came like to love and dealing with a female, you saw that he was kind of awkward and off about it in the film.
And he doesn't play it into like a uncomfortable awkwardness. It's sort of like you just see like he's just like
learning.
letting the moment fucking unfold in front of him.
Yeah.
But he's sort of like I don't know. Like I'm just doing
He's
this
learning,
thing.
yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
And he's had failed relationships and he doesn't know, and he's married to his work, and his work is about destroying because he buys businesses and then just breaks them and sells them off in pieces. So he's sort of like his whole life is not where he wants it to be. He feels wrong.
Right.
Talking about him, like just came to mind, An Officer and a Gentleman.
Oh my God! Yes, back up a little bit. Yeah, that was what is that? The late 70s, 79,
I think it was late
80,
yeah,
something
late
like that.
70.
I love, or maybe 77.
I can watch that anytime.
100% agree with you. Officer and a Gentleman
Yeah.
with Deborah Winger
Yeah.
and Richard Gere. I love and Louis Gossett Jr.
Louis
who
Gossett
won
Jr.,
an
yeah.
Oscar for that film.
Yeah.
I got nowhere else to go.
Why are you here, son?
Yeah, it's so good. That really is a good movie.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Because
100%.
if you really think about, hold on,
you ever saw that?
I think I have.
It's got that that song from it is lifting up where we belong. How's the song go?
oh yeah, I know.
I
I know what you're talking about.
Fuck shit. You would know it if you heard it. Anyways.
I know it's not.
Yeah, but it's from that movie. I may have been nominated for Best Original Song for the Oscar,
Yeah.
and maybe even won it. But that is a really good movie, and that reminds.
you know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of that movie with Richard Gere where he's like the evil cop that's like murdering people and like covering up crimes.
Yeah, that's
and
definitely
shit.
not the
Well, there's the
romantic
Brooklyn one,
comedy that we're
No,
talking
this is
about.
like on
Brooklyn's Finest, which is a little different than that.
like on the West Coast or something like that. Anyway,
That's not a romantic.
I was like, yeah, I was like, I don't remember this movie being
I know what
romantic
you're
at
talking about.
all.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it the Navy?
Yeah, it was the Navy. He was
Yeah.
a naval officer in. He was in the Naval Academy in.
Correct.
Was it Washington State or whatever?
Correct. Yeah.
But that actually reminds me of another movie, although they're completely different, but they're romantic comedies in different settings, which is Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
Which is a movie that you might go, is that a romantic comedy? But then when you think about it, it absolutely is. What's that movie known for? It's known for lines like, you had me at hello.
Yeah.
You complete me. You know, these are lines that are completely romantic. You know,
I mean, but both those lines are in like the same scene.
No, well,
Like
no, you
seconds
complete
apart.
me is actually, yes, it is said in that scene, but it's said earlier when she translates the deaf or the deaf people signing in the elevator, and she goes, "You complete me." He goes, "What?"
No,
That's
Jerry,
what he said.
Jerry,
You complete me.
I need you to say it like you mean it.
Show me the money.
No, Jerry, I don't think you understand what I'm saying. I don't think you're feeling it. See, I need you to feel it. I need you to show me the money.
I love black people. I love black people. Show me the money.
See you on Monday.
Congratulations, Jerry. You're still my agent.
Yep.
Anyways, yeah, but that movie has all these other elements to it. Football, you know, the thing with Rod Tidwell, which is Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah.
But it's at its core, it's about Jerry, again, a guy who needs somebody else because he's got this loveless, you know, relationship with his fiance, played by Kelly Preston. Her name's Avery in the movie. He has this thing where it's sort of like that's not love, and he's feeling incomplete. And
they're both like sharks,
Yes.
basically,
Yeah.
in that industry.
Yeah,
that
and he
they're
basically
in.
has a midlife crisis about his job and about life in general. And she needs somebody. Like, she's struggling. And they find each other in these moments. And that movie's really about their relationship more than anything else.
I don't know. It's interesting with romantic films, like especially when, you know, if it's not even if it's like a romantic film as a whole, like if there's a romantic element, I feel like a lot of times they kind of like just jump. There's like a leap that they make that they assume the audience is going to connect this leap from one to the other, and like sometimes to me it like you don't understand. You're like, wait, what happened? Like, how did you get from there to here?
Right.
But then everyone just accepts it. Like, well, something must have
That's
happened.
the great writing of
What do
it.
you mean,
Then,
Jerry Maguire?
It's not like it's not there.
Are you talking about specifically in Jerry Maguire?
Well, no, not specifically in Jerry Maguire. I mean, there's a lot of elements in Jerry Maguire that like build up to
Like
the
they
climax
crash
of
out.
that
They
film.
practically are getting divorced at one point. Like, they do
Yeah.
get married, and
Yeah.
you could tell he's just kind of doing it because he loves the kid and he doesn't want the kid to go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he really does. She goes, I've got a guy who loves my kid, and he sure does like me a lot. Like that's when she realizes this is where they're at in the relationship. And that's a perfect explanation of what happened. Is he married her, but it was really to keep the kid around. He does like her.
Yeah.
But he hasn't allowed himself to love her
Yeah.
until later on when she's gone and he realizes that hole in his heart. And
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's one of the better films. They kind of like builds all
builds,
that up. But
yeah.
sometimes you watch these films and it's like there's like this. You watch all these series of events occur, and then there's just like, you know, two people, all these things happen, they hate each other, and then all of a sudden the next scene, like 2 minutes later, they're together.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, how do we get from there
Because
to
the
here?
screenwriter wrote it that way,
And it's
therefore
like,
it happened.
we're running
see,
out
I
of
love
money.
that.
Just have them
Yeah.
fall
I love
back in
that.
love. That's it. Let's
Bad
like,
I
pacing
love
is
that.
what it is.
I
You
don't
like
think it's
that?
bad pacing. I love when they.
It's so
you
jarring
feel
to me.
You feel it happening, but then
to be
something
acted
takes you away.
properly.
Those
Yeah.
are breaks. It's great. I love breaks when it comes to that because you feel like it's happening. Then they just play with your emotion. They create a situation where, oh, this is not going to happen.
Yeah.
But then suddenly, out of nowhere, where your feelings are not expecting it to happen, oh my gosh, this shit, you're like surprised about it, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is happening right now.
Right.
He's revealing it to her, or she's revealing it to him. And you know, I think that happened with Jerry Maguire, where when he was at that house, when he went in there, suddenly, like, he just started revealing himself to her.
Oh, it's so...
And you're just like, oh my gosh, it's happening right here, and it's happening in front of people.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
It was
holy-
very natural.
It was very
vulnerability.
natural.
It was like that little monologue. I love when he goes. He like kind of he's looking down. He kind of looks up, and he's got these tears in his eye, and he kind of gets dark, and he goes, "We live in a cynical world." Like, you just get this idea that he's just sort of like
the
oh.
group
It felt
there
like
was
he
like
didn't
the
know what to
ex-wives
say.
club
Yeah,
or
that
something
hated
like that.
men.
It was
like-
incredible. It felt like he didn't know what to say, and he's just bursting out with his emotion and these lines. And you didn't expect that to happen at
I
that
miss
point.
my
and
wife.
that wasn't. Yeah, exactly. And then that happened. You're like, oh my gosh, it's happening.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know. And I love breaks. Fuck y'all.
Yeah. No, that's different. We're talking about Jerry Maguire did it right.
No, yeah, Jerry
Because
Maguire
they
did
led
it
up
right,
to that.
yeah.
It was like there was a point where when he's on the field and Rod Tidwell at the game, and he
Yeah.
sees Rod's good, and then he sees
And
him
he
hugging.
realizes like he wants to be with this person
But
to
you-
share this moment.
He
with.
goes. He tells her. He tells her that we had our company had a very big day, a very very big day, but it didn't feel complete. It
Yeah.
wasn't right, and that's and he basically says because you weren't there. Effectively, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
He's like it wasn't even in the same ballpark as being right because
Yeah.
you were.
He actually said
I miss
it, yeah.
my wife.
Yeah.
You know, I miss my wife, and that's what he
Yeah.
means. He's like, I realize I need you. You complete me.
Yeah.
And that's that
That's
movie
a-
does it right.
Yeah. You know, another movie I think it did it right, and a lot of people don't give it that much credit, was Hitch with Will Smith.
Yeah, I do like that movie.
Yeah.
That's a good movie.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
a great movie with a guy
For some
that's
reason,
supposed to
I
know it
thought
all.
that was a rated R film, but that's actually a PG-13.
Oh, yeah.
It's
that's
PG-13.
PG-13.
Yeah,
Clean.
you got this guy that's supposed to know everything about women.
Love Doctor.
Actually, not Love Doctor.
He
yeah.
literally makes a
yeah
living.
with Kevin James.
Yeah,
and,
training
but,
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's teaching this guy who knows nothing about women, but then you find out it's actually pretty much the opposite.
Yeah.
Where the guy that knows nothing actually teaches him about.
Well, I think that the premise was almost like he had never actually been or found somebody that he had actually started to like fall in love with.
He did when
And
he
he
was
did,
younger.
but-
That was the whole
but
thing.
that was the
And
whole
then
thing,
She
yeah.
basically broke his heart.
That's what
And
I'm
he's
saying.
like-
he
yeah.
became
He was
like a cynic.
He was
yeah.
he's like fuck love. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like you have Kevin James as the person that doesn't know about love, and then his. In talking about these films real quick, I just wanted.
And Eva Mendes was great. In that.
Evan Mendes was incredible. Yeah, and then at the end they flip where Kevin James actually teaches him
Yeah.
how to be truthful to love.
And I like that movie how they like handled the like lust versus love thing because
Yeah.
it wasn't like Will Smith was like, you know, to like training guys how to just like manipulate and like hook up. Like he would find people that
wanted to help
genuinely
them
had
find love.
like an actual
Yeah.
interest that actually like potentially loved
Yeah.
someone. And it wasn't like and there was I think there's a scene in there where
Yeah, there was a guy
some
who wanted
guys,
to
like-
bang. He's like, I want you to help me bang this
help
girl.
me ba-
He's like, I don't do
it
that.
was like the seedy
yeah, and then he twists the guy's, almost breaks the guy's arm as the guy disrespects him or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing about like what I was getting ready to say too, since we started talking about an officer and a gentleman, these films also had a different element, which was the love between like Kevin James and Will Smith in the film. You know, their passion for each other to be. You
mean like a man love?
The man, not
Well,
the
no,
man,
I'm just saying, I'm
the
like-
supporting actor love
Yeah.
with the main actor.
Friendship.
Yeah.
Friendship.
I'm not.
I'm not saying.
Yeah. I know. I wasn't going that route. You
I'm
just
just saying.
Well, like
Yeah.
they, you know,
And you had
Will
that with-
Smith's life changed and his life changed at the same time
Yeah.
when they were.
But
And
there's
they
a-
both kind
yeah.
of like
Wasn't a
bounced
singular
off each
story.
other. Yeah,
but there
it
was
like-
that. See, we're going back to talking about connectivity, and you know,
Right.
and they had that spark with each other. Officer and a gentleman. Richard Gere had his spark with what was his name?
What, the chauffeur or not? Jason
the
Alexander.
officer.
Louis Goosey.
Oh, you're talking about Officer and Gentleman. Yeah. I forget
Gossett
the guy's
Jr.,
name, but
yeah.
it's the guy from. No, there's Louis Gossett Jr., which is his. No, but he has a friend in that movie who ends up killing
Yeah.
himself. Remember, like who's in the Naval Academy together.
But
his best friend.
his relationship built
with Louis Gossett Jr. Yeah, it's like a subplot. It's
Exactly.
like a whole
Yeah.
other. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like a second element.
It's
of,
how he becomes
of
an
love.
officer and a gentleman.
Yeah.
That really is what it is. He
Yeah.
becomes an officer and a gentleman.
Exactly.
That's
yeah.
the point of the movie.
So
right?
within all these films that we just talked about, they have that second story of
Yeah.
love, of relationship
Yes.
going in there. I think that's also like a part of an element that goes into these successful
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah.
That,
So
that's why we're talking
there's
about.
3 films I want to mention. They're all wildly different films, but we haven't talked about any of them.
He's on his phone.
Oh God,
no, I've had these the
no.
whole time, but I wanted
no.
I wanted to finish talking about
He
all
has
these other
been
ones.
watching YouTube.
Because I do have one more I want to talk about.
we can dive. We guys can pick one to dive in. I don't know if you've seen. I mean, I know you've seen like at least 2 of them. But Groundhog's Day.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, definitely.
Which
It's funny.
is
I
just-
guess it is a romantic comedy. I
It
wouldn't
is
really place
100% a
100%.
romantic
Because
comedy.
that's what it's kind of about.
Can we
That's
just name,
literally the whole movie is his whole purpose. Like becomes
He's an asshole,
like
can't
how
love,
to like
Yeah.
but it wasn't. It was almost like he was
He
just trying
learned
to
his
sleep with
lesson.
her
Yeah.
the whole movie, and then he keeps repeating the same day, and then
Yeah.
eventually he like
He
you know,
changes. He
Yeah,
becomes a
changes.
better
He becomes a
person.
better
Yeah.
person. It was Groundhog's Day. Amelie. I don't know if you guys have ever seen
Yeah.
this movie.
Yeah,
Amelie.
yeah, the French one.
The French film.
Didn't
yeah.
actually watch it. I've been meaning to see that for a few years. Now.
You should watch it.
Beautiful
Yeah.
film.
That's what I heard.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing movie. But it's like it's this love story, but it has all this humor, and it's like this French film, so it's very.
Yeah.
I don't know. As an American watching it, you're like it's different.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I loved it.
Okay.
I loved it. And then the other film was Shakespeare in Love.
Oh yeah,
which-
definitely.
which I
Yeah,
think
that's
is
a good one.
fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's
romantic comedy. It's hilarious. It's a rated
Won a
R
bunch of
film, but
Oscars.
and it's incredibly well acted.
Yeah,
like,
Gwyneth
everybody
Paltrow won
is
for that.
fantastic. in
Yeah,
it.
Jeffrey Rush is great
Jeffrey
in
Rush
it.
is amazing.
Joseph Fiennes.
Even Joseph Fiennes.
This is Ray Fiennes, Voldemort's brother.
That's a great film.
Yeah, Voldemort's brother. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a really good one.
Anyway, but those three and I don't know. I would say like that. I feel like all three of them have their own, like they're so different.
Real quick. So before we started the podcast and before you got here, Nick and I was talking about how in the last 15 minutes of the podcast you come alive.
Like you pull out your phone.
Stories.
No, I've had it out the whole time. I've had it out the whole time, but I realized we're running out of time, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
I know, you're like, shit, I gotta
better
get things
throw
in.
these things in there.
Yeah, I totally agree. The one that I was going to mention was the breakup, which you mentioned earlier, Diego.
Oh, yeah.
Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston.
I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, you know what? I really like
a
this
great
movie.
film.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's very funny. It's Vince Vaughn at like the peak of his comedy. You know, Wedding Crashers era. It's a year after
Okay.
Wedding Crashers.
Yeah.
Movie came out in 2006. But what I love about this movie is it breaks away from the formula.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, I'm just going to say. Because the movie is not about their romance. The movie is about their breakup.
Yeah.
Right.
So it kind of speeds forward to the point where they're having trouble. They decide to break up and everything that goes along with that. And spoiler alert, at the end, they don't end up together.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
Wait,
break
what?
up.
What?
In the breakup, they actually break up.
Yes. But no, that's the thing is there's a chance for them at more than one point where you're like, oh, it could happen, but it doesn't fucking happen.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like they miss each other or they're not at the same point at the same time. Or he finally learns his fucking lesson, takes his head out of his ass, and she can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
You know? But there's a scene at the end, the very last scene, which jumps forward like a year or two. And they're walking down the street or whatever, and they basically bump into each other.
Yeah.
And they haven't seen each other for a while. And he looks great. He's
Yeah.
lost weight. He looks like he's happy.
Yeah.
And they just kind
Weren't
of
they dating at the time then too?
They started dating. I think they met on the movie, or they
okay.
started dating from the movie.
Yeah.
But then they have this kind of run-in, and it's very nice and very cordial. And you can see that love and affinity kind of still exists there. And then they well, maybe I'll see you around. And then they basically say their goodbyes, and they're walking away. And then they kind of both look back, and they smile at each other, and he gives her a little wink, and then they keep walking. But I just love something about that last scene. You know how like the last scene of a movie can really kind of stick with you?
Yeah.
It's just the way it plays out, and like you could feel the electricity and the general love between these two people that transcends romance.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I don't know. I just love.
No, I
just
get
love that
it.
scene.
Yeah, I think that movie was really well done because it showed the love between respect of two people, and I think that's how I took the last scene when they looked at it. It's like they wanted happiness for each other,
Exactly.
and they showed that to,
Genuine love.
Exactly, it was genuine.
It's not that cookie cutter, you know, Kay's jewelry commercial fucking, you know, love, that thing that they tell you is love. It's like, no, this is like general love and affinity between
Exactly.
two people.
It's that lust versus love thing. 'Cause I
Exactly.
feel like a lot of these romantic films, it's like you could substitute the quote unquote love in the film for just lust.
Yeah.
Like you're watching the movie and you're like, if this was real life, in a couple years these people wouldn't be together.
Right.
Like this is not real.
Right.
This is not a long term thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you know, it's a film, so it's like
and it worked really well. Yeah, I got one last one.
I got two more.
No, we don't have time.
Oh, let me just drop their names.
We don't have.
Just drop the names. I'm gonna honorable mention one or
we
two.
don't
more.
have to- we don't have to-
this shit. This is fucking getting out of hand.
So, my Big Fat Greek Wedding is one I wanted to mention,
Yeah,
which
that's
I
the
think
one.
is like a very well done.
Yeah,
It is,
thanks.
yeah.
PG,
Yeah, it was a sleeper hit, too.
Families
huge
can
hit.
watch it, and it's great.
It is, yeah.
And then the other one was Four Weddings and a Funeral.
I was about to say
Hugh
that
Grant.
too.
Yeah.
And as part of that, I was going to
As
say
you-
Notting Hill, another Hugh Grant film.
Hugh Grant's made a lot.
The guy who
but-
wrote those films also wrote and directed Love Actually.
Yep.
It's the same
Oh, I
guy
didn't know
connected
that.
all those films. Yeah, he.
Okay.
Fucking Dan Curtis or Dan Hans, whatever his name is. Dan Curtis, I think. Anyways, yeah, British guy, and he did all those movies with Hugh Grant.
Moving on to the last film.
Notting Hill, great. Julia Roberts, Hugh Grant, fantastic
Great
film,
films.
really good.
I
About a
agree,
boy.
but we just have to move
About
it
a
over.
boy, yeah, I was just watching that.
Shut the fuck up. No, I have 50 lists here, okay? But I'm naming one out of these. I'm controlling myself, Neil. Do you get that?
Yo, stop ganging up on him.
I'm
Stop.
not. I put my
Ganging.
phone away. I'm not going to look at any more.
The girth. You know?
Anymore.
Oh, the girth.
films.
Oh, the chest pop out.
Yeah.
One more film, The 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what?
Great movie.
Yeah,
Great
a lot of those Judd episodes
films.
knocked up even, but let's say, yeah,
Let's
40-Year-Old
not-
Virgin. I
40-Year-Old
love
Virgin. Yeah.
40-Year-Old Virgin. I love that movie, but I also
That
do love Knocked Up, by
was
the way. But 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Great. This fucker just changing movies again. Look
No, Judd Apatow. He did both of them.
You know
yeah,
what's
he did do
interesting? I feel it to me that's more like obviously it has romantic comedy elements, but I never considered it like a romantic comedy. I just considered it,
It
like
is true.
like a raunchy comedy.
Yeah, but when you think about
But
it,
it
in
is
its
a
essence,
true
what's
romantic
it
comedy.
about?
I mean
it
that is
really
what
is.
it's
It's
about,
true.
but it's like
It is true.
it's too to me. It's like it's more heavier than like a.
It's
than
more
like what
comedy.
I would expect from a romantic
Yeah,
comedy.
but
yeah.
again, that's not sticking to the
Yeah.
formula, which is good. Is what we're saying
Correct,
is the
yeah.
element that
like
makes
Knocked Up is less heavy to me. Like you could watch like I watched Knocked Up and I'm like that's a romantic.
I don't know
comedy.
how you can say that because Knocked Up is totally about a baby coming. And
Yeah, I
two
think-
But I
people
mean, it
just-
deals
40-Year-Old
more
Virgin
with
Knocked Up,
like
I felt on
that.
the
Like
same
in
level.
40-Year-Old
I think-
Virgin, he's just like it's like mainly him, and then he doesn't really meet. the
Catherine
chi-
Keener. He does.
Yeah,
It's
he
pretty
does.
early on.
He does.
Is it early
It's
on?
literally
I don't know.
like
I have to watch it again. It's been a while since I've watched it.
it's
I'm
like
sorry,
she's
I
teaching
have to
him
watch
how
it
to
again.
be in a relationship. It's a great film.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it is really. I mean, yes, okay, it is about him.
Yeah.
You know, it's more focused on him as an individual, but it is about him as an individual, and his character arc includes.
But it is his love
Her.
story, though.
Yeah.
It is his love story.
and
so
she's great in
yeah,
it.
and she's
Catherine
incredible.
Keener with the eBay store,
The
Yeah.
eBay store
where you
yeah.
can't buy anything there, but you can look at stuff and then go buy it on eBay.
Go buy it on eBay. Yeah, it's freaking hilarious.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. And Knocked Up again.
Knocked
another
Up is a
good
great
one.
film,
Judd,
yeah.
Judd Apatow definitely.
Yeah.
God, what was
stop
the
looking
other
at your
one?
phone. Stop looking at
There's
your
another
phone.
Judd Apatow one with
No,
his
no,
wife.
there's not. No, there's not.
Oh, there's Funny People. There's I really wouldn't say that's on, but there's This Is 40.
This is 40. That
which
was
is
it.
a sort of sequel to Knocked Up. But This Is 40 is
It's
not really
it's not a romantic comedy. It's
about
more of like
family.
it's like after the romance.
It's a comedy.
It's like maintaining.
Yeah,
We got to cut. We really do because time.
Oh, you know you.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
No. So we talked about some really, really great films.
Did we? Did
yeah,
we,
we
Diego?
did. Yeah. Because
I got like 10
love
more.
you guys.
All right, quick list of 100 honorable mentions.
No.
No. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
honorable
Let's finish it off.
Stop!
I agree.
We didn't even mention Crazy Stupid Love.
Anywho,
Oh my God, Crazy Stupid Love is such a
Thank
good
you
movie.
for coming to
Steve
get to the
Carell,
podcast. My
Ryan
name is
Gosling,
Diego D'Souza.
Emma Stone,
That is
Julianne
Nick
Moore.
Gambino fucking talking, and Neil
Love
is
that
fucking
movie.
laughing. Thank you for coming, and have a great day.
See you guys later.
Fuck you
Find
guys.
love.
Find love.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.